Soon to be the All-American uniform.
Right.
All right, thank you guys very much. I want to say good morning to the Congressman. Congressman Burchett live from Washington. Morning, Congressman.
Hey, how you boys doing?
Well, we're doing all right, but I just want to go right to it and talk about the situation in Iran and just your thoughts on it initially. I know you've also had some briefings even yesterday from the White House.
Yeah, I think that we're in a situation, this group has thumbed their nose at our country, go back to the Iranian hostage situation in the 70s under Jimmy Carter, and then you go to the 240 Marines that lost their lives. I believe it was Libya when they blew that barracks up, and then up to 2000 where they attacked a ship and I believe killed 4 sailors around, I think it was year 2000. And then you look at the war in Iraq, they armed them, so they've killed Americans. They have American blood on their hands, but they also are trying to get nuclear power and nuclear weapons, and that's where we're at. And we've had to knock out their defense system so that if they had nukes, they couldn't get them off the ground. We've eliminated their missiles. We've cut China off from a huge portion of their oil because that's who was funding this whole thing. China was buying their oil, and then the Iranians would use that to buy armaments to push terrorism all over the world. And then on the other end of it, Russia was getting the Iranians were heavy into drones, and that's who the Russians were getting their drones from. So it's a lot of things going on with this. Of course, you know, their number one got taken out, and I think they've appointed Khamenei, or whatever the heck his name is. They've appointed his son as he's the number 2, and he's a radical too. But if I was going to have Fondue Friday with him, I would probably cancel, because I would say his days are numbered.
Fondue Friday.
Yeah, I'll tweet about it later. It'll go viral. You can say your first at Tim Burchett. But our intelligence, along with the Israelis, is really unmatched, because they put all their people together in one room, thinking that they had outsmarted us, and I won't go into all the details, but our missiles that took them out were precise and to the point, no pun intended. And we've got their number. And right now what we're doing is taking out all their other missiles that they have. And their leaders are apocalyptic. They're a radical Muslim group that, oddly enough, only about 10% of their population adheres to, but they have such an iron fist. I mean, these are the people that throw gay folks off of buildings. They hang little boys who put up a mean tweet. They poke little girls' eyes out who maybe wear makeup. And then for a woman who has been raped, they will stone them because it's obviously their fault, according to their doctrine. And they are not a religion of peace. They're radicals, and they're rabid dogs, and they need to be put down. Now, I'm not a big war hawk, as you know. I get on the war pimps and the portfolio warriors that we have here that vote, for wars so that their stocks will go up, and I'm sure we got several that'll be pushing it because of that reason down deep. But the reality is there's no way in God's green earth that we want Iran to have any nuclear capabilities. And they've even called for a nuclear war because some of their parliament thinks that they have those capabilities. But I'll tell you, they don't. They won't. We offered them, and I'm giving you a whole rundown. Then you can stop me at the end.
No, go ahead.
We offered them nuclear power basically for life if they would just disarm, would play it straight. And they turned and we went to the bargaining table. I think 4 times. I had a very long conversation with the president on. I'd called him on the morning of about 6 o'clock in the morning. He never sleeps. I get up at 4:30, but I don't know that he even does that. we had offered them a peaceful resolution, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. And they kept coming. We'd come back to the table, and they would break every vow that they made with us. So there was no turning back at this point. I don't want war. I'm not Lindsey Graham. I'm not wanting to bomb Middle Tennessee or anything like he would. But I just think that we've got a responsibility here. And also one other thing, when the Saudis, or what we call them, Saudis, I don't know, East Tennessee, but when the Saudis allow Israel to fly over their airspace unencumbered, that tells you what's going on. Those people over there, the Middle Easterners, they don't want war. They want peace. They're digging capitalism right now, and I think that's a very good thing for us. And so you've got basically the world's against them. Yeah, Europe and a few of these other gutless ones, and China and Russia are not with us, but vast majority of the people over there are with us. And you see the Iranians all over the world celebrating, and the media can't stand it. So it's I think it's a great opportunity, but I think we need to get in and get out as soon as possible. And I don't want American troops on the ground over there. That's all I got.
You do not want troops on the ground. Is that right?
No, sir. I do not. I think we can handle this elsewhere. Otherwise, I think they've got people over there. We can put people over there, and let's go that route. I think that's the route we need to go.
We're joined by Congressman Tim Burchett. Congressman Burchett, of course, from Knoxville. He is you're on the committee on Foreign Affairs, also the Middle East subcommittee, so you're very familiar with all this. I was reading this morning a couple of reports that from reporting again, and Netanyahu had really impressed upon the president to move up the timing. According to the reports, this was scheduled maybe for late March, early April, but then when United States intelligence, along with Israeli intelligence, noted that they were having that meeting last Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, whatever, at that time in Iran, that we moved up our timetable. Is that even close to being accurate, the reports this morning?
Tell me which timetable you're talking about. I'm not sure.
Initially, it was the attack was going to come in later this month or even early next month, but because
that's what we've heard as well. I don't know how accurate that is, but I think what the problem was, and there's a question of whether China was allowing them to get back in the nuclear game. And that was some of the fear, because once they had you're seeing right now they bombed Iran has sent missiles into 10 other countries, I believe, that had absolutely nothing to do with what's going on. So I think you will. I think you're seeing that if they had the capabilities of sending nuclear weapons, they would do it. And they are apocalyptic. They want to end it. That's kind of an extreme Muslim belief, I believe.
We're joined by Congressman Tim Burchett. Congressman, a lot of President Trump's supporters in the MAGA world have come out against this. People like Tucker Carlson, others have notably come out against this action. What do you say to them this morning, those who support the president but are against this war?
Well, we're in it. Let's support it. Let's get out as quick as possible. And I said yesterday, what about we start moving towards putting troops on the ground over there? And I've said the White House has at least sent us messages that that's not their intent, and I think you need to hold Congress accountable with that. We don't need to do that. Let somebody else put their boys in. America's lost enough in these foreign wars, and I think that I think it can happen. If you remember, what year was it when the Iranian hostage
79
took place? 79, right? Okay, yeah, because I was a sophomore in high school, at Bearden High School in Knoxville.
I was a year old.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
Yeah,
obviously.
I was born in
but the but the people rose up and they took it over and they took it away from the Shah. I think I would like to see that same fervor. I would hope that they would rise up and do just that.
Very quickly here. I noticed at the State of the Union, you know, the Sergeant at Arms comes out, announces the president. President walks in. You are right there. If you're watching the television screen, you're on the left. Actually, Jimmy Duncan, your predecessor, was behind you a little bit, and you were on the left. Yeah. And the president stopped and talked to you for an unusually long amount of time. What can you tell us about that conversation with the president on his way up to the lectern?
He just, he told me he loved me and that he loved Tennessee and that he appreciated my call that morning, because I called him, and I know God doesn't speak to me in an audible voice, but he speaks to me, and I thought, I'm just going to try calling the president, and I did, and it was very early, and he picked up on the first ring, and first thing out of his mouth was Tim, and I think he'd seen me on CNN or something, and was laughing about, how I was getting into it with him, how much he appreciated me. And then he said, and then he just looked at me and he said, thank you for that phone call, buddy. And he told me he loved me. And that was it, basically. He said some other nice things. And then on the way out, though, and can I tell you what I told him on the way out? Nobody believes this.
Please.
I told the press this, and then they said, oh, you didn't know. If you're not going to tell us, then just tell us you're not going to tell us. Well, we've got this cat in our barn. We got a bunch of cats, you get their freaking barn cats, whatever, and you can't ever catch them. But we got this one cat, and my wife named it after President Trump. She calls it Orange Cat Bad. And I was telling him that cat is the meanest SOB in the barn because, I have insomnia. So at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm coming back from the barn after I've made some skateboards. That's what I do. I make skateboards in the barn. And then, and I was coming back, and our gray cat was running like crazy, ran in front of me. And then this huge owl, it must have had a 6-foot wingspan. It's kind of spooky. It's just, they're like a trash can with wings. They're crazy. God designed them pretty cool. And then I'm thinking, holy cow, he's going to eat that gray cat. And then who was chasing it but Orange Cat Bad, the meanest SOB in the barn. And I told Trump that, President Trump, and he said, tell Kelly I said thank you. My wife, that was her cat. She named it. And and everybody, because everybody, when they're on the road, they always say, oh, Mr. President, we need to talk about tariffs, with the UN or some craziness. And he didn't want to hear that crap he's coming off of the stage. He's not remembering that stuff. You just keep it light and funny, and that's why they keep coming back to you. But serious on the way in, and just having and congratulatory and funny on the way out. That's the way I do it. He always looks for me, and then when he sees me, he comes towards me. So I guess that's a good thing.
Congressman Tim Burchett. Congressman, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all.
Yes,
Pray
sir.
for our country.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. There he is.
Love it.
Listen, I don't